Hi there. Today I will be talking about and showing examples of Mick Gordon's sound design and experimentation that is used throughout the video games Doom and Doom Eternal. Firstly, Mick has a plethora of hardware instruments that he commonly uses when creating music, such as the Soviet-era Polyvox synth and various guitar pedals. Unfortunately, I do not have the luxury of owning all these instruments, so I'll be demonstrating through software. Ableton Live 11 is what I'll be using today, alongside a multiband compressor designed and published by Geoffplaysguitar, who did an amazing YouTube video showing compression and how they affect and change sound. I'll be linking this down in the description of this video, so after you're done with this, you can go check his video out. He has a lot of great tips, and there is also the download link of the multiband compressor that I will be showing today. Now, to demonstrate the compressor, there are first of all a single band and a dual band compressor being used. I am using the 2-band compressor as it retains a lot more of the low end. In Jeff's video, it actually shows you the 2-band compressor retains a lot of the low end versus the single band actually getting rid of quite a bit of the low end, so you can use different ones for different instruments. Now, I have a simple clap here that I have repeated over 4 channels. I've color coded them here with the number corresponding to the amount of compressors that are actually being chained on. So you can see I am just putting more and more iterations of the compressors, up to 4. Now, I also have an audio channel here that is set onto resampling. So what this will do is that whatever it records over, whether it is MIDI or audio, it will output it as an audio file. This will be able to show you the wave file of all the audio and how the compressor affects the final output. Now I will give you an example. So, after that, you can audibly hear it, however, you can also see the change now. So, with the first compressor, it isn't very dissimilar to the original unfiltered kind of audio. You can see that the tail has a little bit more fuzz there, showing that there's more audio presence going on. Now, with the 2 compressors, you can definitely see that it is definitely at the transient at the beginning. There is a much more significant hit in volume, and then it slowly tapers out a little bit around here. However, you can see towards the end of the tail here, it's completely flat here, but there's more feedback actually being fed back through the compressor. So what it's taking is the audio, and very similar to what Mick uses, which is FL Studio. In FL, there is a built-in stock plugin called the Doom compressor, which is very aptly named. And what that does is it takes the starting audio and it reduces it by minus 200 decibels. And then it also brings it back up plus 200 decibels, so it is back at 0 dB. Now what this will do is it will take your standard audio format like here, where there is, large differences in audio in the dynamics, and it will try and flatten them out. It's like squishing the audio file. You can see that being used here, where the tail starts to slowly build up feedback. Now, as we go further on, the first initial signature is much more pronounced than the unedited version, and the tail is becoming significantly more dense with audio and feedback. And with the final 4 compressor clap, even here there isn't much of a letdown in audio, so this is a very kind of full sounding clap You can definitely see it through the time signature, not time signature here. So that is kind of an example of what the compressor can actually do. However, moving on, over here I have a synth called Vital, which I will be using for the demonstration here. It is just outputting a sine wave to this MIDI pattern that I wrote. Now normally this would be a very bland and boring sound, primarily used as a sub bass to support other instruments. However, with the help of the multiband compressor and a simulated amp cabinet, you can get a sound that is very reminiscent of Mick Gordon. Now I haven't touched any of the settings apart from what audio type it is, so sine wave or basic shapes. So I've left it all even just for the sake of being fair. And I will also bring it up now. Another thing that is very favored for this would be OTT, which originated on Ableton. And this is a multi-band compressor, and you can definitely see it's, when I take away in the high and the low end, it's very reminiscent to the compressor that is used in this, the Doom compressor. And that's because they're the exact same thing. OTT, what it does is that you can see it has 3 bands, multi-band compressor, hence the name, and it can make them more or less pronounced. So if you wanted less bass and more high end, you can make those sections more noticeable and pronounced. So this is very good. And for the same thing of taking everything down 200 dB and up 200 dB, the OTT is boosting everything to make it more audible. So this is what this Doom compressor by Geoffplaysguitar is emulating. Taking a bit of a deeper look into what this is, you can see there is a main control panel here with the mix amount, so hearing what the stock sine wave is versus the effect chain. There is a center threshold which will change how much and how severe the audio is, so we will mess with that later. The crush more section, it just kind of bit crushes. This bass X over, you can actually, it'll kind of pinpoint where the bass frequencies are, and it can make it more pronounced. Bass gain, very straightforward, it just increases the gain of the low end. High cut, you can see over on the right here, there is an EQ8, and this is just for cutting out some of the high end. It's just built in. You can add an extra EQ or whatever your preferred EQ is after this chain or at the beginning of it to kind of shape the sound that you want. The multiply tab here is actually what enables the compressors. So you can see over here as these little circles will light up gray. That is corresponding with the multiply. So as I increase the multiply knob, it will activate more and more of the compressors. So yes, that will be demonstrated in a minute. And the turn it down knob, it's just for audio. There is also at the end, there is a limiter, so you can kind of mess around with that as you like. I would usually set it about here, so it's not overly loud. Now, having so many of these compressors lined up, it can cause feedback. So you have to be very sparing with what you're actually using here. So I will now get onto a demonstration. I've just done some simple MIDI up here, and I will play that for you. And then, oh, I also do have a cabinet simulator, Ignite Amps Emissary. I have all of these settings, so it's very stock. It's actually leader type if you ever want to replicate it. Now this is the stock sound. Very sub-bassy, not very useful for what we're doing. However, with the amp simulator on, much more of the high-end kind of gritty buzz. And this was also with the compressor on without it. not a huge change. However, when I start adding in instances of the multiply and the OTTs, you'll be able to hear a difference. So I'll do that now. Now that is with the first or the second compressor enabled. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So you can definitely hear it has a different sound. With that demonstration, I will now go in and I will start messing around with this small control panel here and changing the different parameters. So, there you go. This is what the Doom compressor by Geoffplaysguitar does, and emulates a very similar Mick Gordon sound. There are many different variables, such as the synth that you use, also what plugins, guitar pedals. Mick Gordon also uses that heavily, very old or new. Can be from many manufacturers like Boss and such. So yeah, there's a lot of different sounds that you can mess with and change. I'm sure that if you tried replicating this and used the same compressor, you could get very different sounds just by messing around with a bit longer than I have. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.